What is going on, everybody, and welcome back into ByerlyStudios. This is a very quick video, probably the quickest in the entire Goliath Birdeater Tarantula series, and this is more so of a tips and tricks video. I haven't really added anything to that list in a while, so let me take a sip of my coffee as we get into this. Now, as you can see in the background, I do have the log, the rotting log that is, for the Goliath Birdeater Diorama setting and ready. I have already attached two large pieces of bark to it, and as you can see, I have rubber bands the length of the log. Here's what we have to work with here. Now, these are large sheets of bark that I had collected, pre-dried, and are ready to be applied to dioramas and pieces of art throughout my studio. So as we kind of clean up here, I'm going to bring this into view here. As you can see, I did steal my wife's cold pack, homemade cold pack there for her headaches. Don't tell her. And as you can see, we're going to go ahead and just show you real quick how we kind of apply more bark texture with E6000. I went along the entire inside edge of this bark, and although it is very dry, very brittle, we were able to kind of get it pushed down onto the existing clay formation that we had sculpted, and this is already set overnight. So as we remove some of the rubber bands here, we will time lapse this and jump into it. So as we blast through this, just be aware that I didn't want to cover the entire rotted log with just realistic wood texture. So just remember that you can always go back and see how we sculpted as well as painted this rotting log for the diorama. That way you can kind of get caught up. I will also probably link that playlist at the very end of this video, and any kind of, I would say, related topic videos would also be linked there as well. So here's the two pieces that we're going to attach today. Now, although I want to make sure that some of this texture that I had sculpted into the log is visible, so what we'll do is we'll kind of break this apart and just kind of pick the ones that we want to attach, just here and there along the way, just to kind of give it some texture on the back part of the log, which will actually be facing away from the viewer. So what we'll do is we'll kind of drag out some E6000 here, and we'll start applying these little sections of bark to the existing clay formation here. Just remember, this is kind of all viewer's choice, or maker's choice, as it were, I guess, in this situation. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and get some of the rubber bands in place, and then we will apply the E6000, and we'll kind of slide these pieces into place, and then apply the rubber band tension to those to hold them into place again. This is going to hold them where we need them to stay, so that the E6000 has an opportunity to dry. If there's a little bit of drippage as far as E6000 residue, pouring out of the edges, then that's no big deal. I'm really not too worried about that. Most of this is going to be hidden behind the diorama anyways, but we want to make sure that it has a good adhesion so it doesn't pop off along the way. So what we'll do is we'll get that in place and put the rubber bands over it. Alrighty, so with that kind of attached there, we'll go ahead and attach the second piece here, and we'll just slide it the same way underneath the existing rubber bands, and it just holds it in place just until it can tack up and fully dry. Now, I have no fear at all about leaving those rubber bands into place. Even if the rubber bands do get stuck to the E6000, it's so easy just to pull that glue off of there, or just to cut the glue like little drippage that comes out of the end of it and attaches to the rubber band. So it's no problem whatsoever as far as the rubber band sticking to the E6000 from over drip or anything like that. So as we can see here, I wanted also to attach another section here. Now, I wanted to keep some of that clay that I had sculpted in there. I also sculpted in like an in-cave, like knot type texture there. So I want to make sure I'm able to capture that and kind of keep that overall texture that I had sculpted. And to do so, I want to include just a little bit of bark texture there. So I decided to actually wrap that around the very bottom where the overhang off of the rock formation is. It's a little bit of extra work as far as just getting that up under there, getting the rubber bands into place, make sure that it has upward pressure to hold it into place, but it's well worth it when it's all said and done. Same thing again, we're going to break off another portion here, so we'll attach two on this side. So one will be underneath, and then one will be kind of just coming up the edge, kind of overhanging off of the very end of that log where it's kind of broken free or jagged right there. So again, just kind of seeing where I want that to be before we start to apply the rubber bands here. I do have to lift that up just a little bit to get those rubber bands into position. And I actually went ahead and applied the E6000 now to the other portion. We're going to slide that into place, and we'll kind of get that locked in with the rubber bands. These rubber bands aren't super tight or anything like that. They're just applying it just enough pressure for it to not shift around too much while it's in this drying portion of the creation process. So same thing again for the second one. We're going to go ahead and get those rubber bands on there. Oh, magically they're already there. Look at that. Look at that. We're going to go ahead and apply the E6000 to both sides of the pieces so that way we can kind of lock them into place at the same time. Just because it's applying upward pressure, if I were to remove the rubber bands, it will also move that piece as we apply the second piece. So we want to kind of just get one probably to lock it into place, and then we'll get the second piece into place as well before we lock in all of the rubber bands across the entire thing. Kind of slapping that under the rubber bands there and kind of distribute the pressure evenly across all of them. Had to lift that up there to get one of the rubber bands over the bark of the other side of the log there. And then there we are. We're going to let that dry completely. But as you can see, applying bark or realistic bark to any kind of clay formation is actually quite easy. And it's probably easier than you think it is. How do you like to attach bark in a real organic manner to your items? Do y'all use real organic matter in any of the creation projects that you have? And if so, let me know. What do you think, guys? I think this thing looks beyond my expectations. I really do enjoy putting like organic matter and real things into my art. So any kind of circumstance like this is a real treat. We have a lot left over, and we'll probably crumble that up and use it in the terrain that we use for the rest of the rock formation when we start to collect that in the next video. Here's a sneak peek of what the spider will look like on the finished formation before any organic matter is added to the rock formations or the water feature. Looking pretty bad, you guys. Pretty bad. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll check you on the next one. Later, guys.
Thank you for watching.